Hi and welcome back to Tremor Trails, the channel that uses the F-150 Ford Tremor as a platform for off-roading and overlanding. What we do on this channel is we talk a little bit of gear, a little bit of tech, but our main focus is highlighting, filming, and reviewing trails across the country to give you a broad overview and an understanding of what you can expect when you're out there exploring those trails yourselves. With that being said, today we're doing a pretty fun trail. This was a trail that I didn't have a lot of information about when I was trying to research it, and it ended up being an aggressively moderate trail. One side note is this was a hard one to edit. As you know, I like to show a lot of the trail from the front of the vehicle, but this trail was so tight that it kind of just turned into an amateur Ford Tremor commercial. So I hope you enjoy it. Today we're doing Cedro Peak / Mule Peak Trail right outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Let's go! Cedro and Mule Peak are located right outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico, right off Interstate 40. Quick, easy on and off. The trail itself is 6.8 miles that we did, and it took us 3.5 hours to get through it. It is slow going. So what can we expect? We got rock gardens, we got rock ledges, we have deep mud, we have deep ruts, we have extremely tight corners in the trees. Mule Creek is an advanced moderate course with some of the obstacles being 5s and 7s, and there are no bypasses, so you got to get through it. Modes I used were 4 high, mud and ruts, and 4 low, rock crawl. The highlights are pretty far and few between. Really, the highlights are going to be the obstacles that you attempt and getting through the trail all in one piece. Remember that we use stabilizers on our cameras, so the hills are not going to appear as steep and the bumps are not going to be as rough. Also remember that we review this trail and all of our trails at the end of the video, so if you're interested, please check that out at the end. With that being said, let's jump into it. The first part of this trail is the actual Cedro Peak. Where I am circling with my mouse right now is where we're located at. And what you can do from here is you can turn to the right and take this easy road back down and redo Cedro Peak if you want. The front part of this trail is great if you're brand new to off-roading or obstacle climbing. What we're going to do is we're going to continue on to Mule Peak, and it gets way more tight and fun. Once you get on a Mule Peak proper, there are very few spots to turn around, but there are a few options if you got to get turned around. Mainly this road is going to be a lot of washed out ruts, deep mud, and of course these rock gardens. You can see battle scars from half of the trees that a vehicle decided to hit instead of navigate around. But we did okay. We had to pull in our mirrors twice because of a couple tight spots, but that was it, as you can see from here. Just keep your head on a swivel, you'll do fine. What makes this trail difficult is not so much just the tightness of this, but we're actually going to head to 2 or 3 different rock garden ledges that we got to navigate with no bypass. They're ranked pretty high, they're pretty steep, and I was looking forward to seeing what the truck would do and hoping not to blow it up, because really turning around is really not an option because it's another hour back if you turn around. So we're going forward and trudging on. So the first 2 that we navigated were pretty unnerving, but this one really sucked. You had a tree that you had to navigate to the right and then all the way back to the left and then back to the right again, doing an S if you would. The camera really doesn't show the depth of this, but you can see my back tires off the ground right now and then makes contact again. We fully flexed the truck a couple times on this trail. Awesome. This is the bypass to this obstacle. The other side is probably a 7. There's just no way to get down it unless you have some massive clearance. But this part of the obstacle, we came down like a champ. We did great. We didn't hit our running boards. We did not hit our skid plate. It was all about tire placement. But if you remember, there was a Bronco in one of the scenes earlier, and he followed us down this trail and grinded everything on the bottom of his Bronco. So 1 point for Team Tremor. The trail stays tight but starts to open up as we head towards our final obstacle, the Gatekeeper to Mule Peak. Let's go check it out. So there you have it, Cedro / Mule Peak. What a fun trail. This trail I didn't have a lot of info on with the apps. So getting onto the trail, I was kind of just doing the Lewis and Clark thing and hoping that I didn't bite off more than I can chew. And I didn't. You know, this trail would be rated a 5 out of 10 according to OnX. This trail would probably be rated a 7 out of 10 according to the way that Jeep does their trails. I don't care about the numbers so much. My point that I'm trying to make is that this truck in a stock format did just fine getting over those obstacles. I see a lot of guys get their truck and then immediately want to upgrade, immediately put a lift on it, immediately try coilovers and all this stuff. Now, I don't fault a single person for wanting to modify their Tremor. I myself am going to do it once some more manufacturers come online and start to understand the back end of this truck a little bit better. Just goes to show that with these stock tires and with this stock suspension, this truck is very capable of getting you to those spots. Now, is this truck gonna climb Pritchett Canyon or do Hell's Revenge in Moab? No, probably not, because it's not designed for that. It's designed for getting you off-road into some awesome hunting places, some awesome camping places, and not being stranded where a normal truck can't get you to. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, I don't fault anybody for trying to modify their Tremor, but that doesn't have to be the first thing you do unless you really just want to dive into it. The way this truck is set up in its stock format gets you through a majority of moderate trails and of course easy trails. So we're going to dive into the reviews. What we do on this channel is we do a 1 through 5 scale, being fun, fear, technical, and scenery. For fun, this was a fun trail if you're really into off-roading and obstacle climbing. I myself am not a particular fan of a lot of obstacles. I like the roads that I can get up into the mountains for 40, 50 miles and explore that way. However, I'm going to continue to do trails like this because there is a bit of fun to it. We rated this trail as an off-road trail a solid 3.5. For fear, it's not really a fearful trail at all, except that you're in really tight spots and you have those obstacles to contend with. So with fear, it's going to be more on a technical thing. It gets really tight and you got to be paying attention, or you're going to dent your truck, or you're going to do something bad to your suspension. So that'd be the only fear that's really involved. I'm going to give it a 2 just for that reason. That leads us into technical. This is the most technical trail that I've done as of to date. I've done a lot of trails out in Moab. I've done a lot of trails in Colorado. I've done a lot of trails in Texas, and of course now in New Mexico. This one, by the time I was done with it, I was exhausted mentally, because this trail, you don't have a lot of breathing room. You're literally driving 20, 30 yards, turning a corner, and then there's another obstacle. It's just nonstop obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, which can be fun in its own self. But on the technical side, there were several spots I had to get out of the truck, look at what my line's gonna do, how am I gonna navigate this obstacle, and then have a spotter, my wife, make sure that I was in the right spot. Which leads me into one quick thing. Use your camera on your dash, guys. That thing is invaluable because you cannot see when you're at an angle what's above you. I use that thing so much, it's ridiculous. So start getting used to using that when you're off-road. That being said, technical, it gets a 4.5. This trail was harder than some of the stuff that I did in Moab just because of tire placement and getting around those trees. For scenery, this is not a scenic trail at all, unfortunately. There's a few spots where you can kind of look out and see the mountain range, but for the most part, you're in these small stubby trees and you can't see more than 20, 30 yards in front of you. It opens up a little bit towards the end of the trail, and it opened up a little bit in the middle of the trail where we were doing a bunch of those mud ruts. But other than that, you're just kind of grinding down this little 2-track road trying to get to the end. So for scenery, it didn't rate high at all. It got a 1.5. Like I mentioned in the video, if you live around the Albuquerque, New Mexico, the first part of this trail, Cedro Peak, is really a great trail if you're brand new to off-roading and working obstacles. The trail itself was probably 30, 40 feet wide in spots, and you had different places where you could try different lines. It was not intimidating at all, and the obstacles were pretty mild, to be honest with you. The backside of this trail gets really crazy, and I would not recommend it if you don't have any experience in off-roading. All in all, this was a fun trail, and I look forward to getting back towards the Albuquerque, New Mexico area to explore some more of these trails. If you have any questions regarding this trail or any trails that you've seen on our channel, please hit us up down below. We'll try and answer your question to the best of our ability. Thank you so much for the people that have already subscribed to us. We're a brand new channel, and we're just trying to get out to more people that may be interested in the Ford Tremor as a platform. People are kind of sleeping on this truck, and it's a shame because I personally have driven
other manufacturers right here,
and I think this truck is better than that one. Don't shoot me, it's just the truth in my humble opinion. Until next time, we'll see you out there on the trails.